Okay, I can have my own music, so that's good. I just want to make sure that everything. Okay, I'm going with the whole wizard thing. Sorry. I don't want to be too loud, but at the same time, I do want to transfer the information that's coming through while taking notes. Um, shit. Looking for my pencils. Actually, let me switch gears. Kind of worked it out. Mostly because this model is breaking down. Guarding privacy. Okay. Um, I don't necessarily see who's there. I'll see if I can share it. Oh, there you go. How are you doing? Oh, no one else is being seen in the frame. You might hear some people passing by, some BB guns in the background. Just being chill with this. Oh, I noticed that. Hair kind of going, whatever. Let's see. I'm just trying to figure this thing out. If you hear a dog whimpering in the background, I'll tell you the story. Don't worry. Um, Reconnecting. Okay, I'm live. I didn't necessarily. All right. So I'm testing out something. One being fully in state. I was wondering if I could just put it there. Mostly because we're gonna hear this dog whimpering for a bit. I'll tell you the story. I'm just keeping a bit of suspense for it, or not. Right now, I've played with an aspect of microdosing two things, stacking them up, and keeping 100% conscious awareness of the difference between the two states. Because I've practiced focusing my mind at its natural speed. So I can be completely aware of the granular details, the moment per moment nuances being observed, thought about, perceived, sensed in the moment. And to be able to verbally break it down while processing all that information and keeping it, you could say, stacked up, because it is a lot of information being processed in a rapid state. And I'm also making sure that my room requires as little movements as I need, so I don't necessarily lose track and then kind of go off into different tangents or overkill tangents of without having a full buckle, a full wraparound. So what's happening now, if you continuously hearing this dog whimper in the background, it's not because it wants to see me. It's more of an aspect that it is being trained by the owner to respect people's boundaries. Okay, because this dog has never really been trained to respect people's boundaries. It would continuously even eat the food, as you saw in the little counter surfer picture. So this dog, that's his habit. That's like, okay, some people are like, oh, that's a dog. And eventually it kind of pissed off some people. So see, back and forth. So what ended up happening was that, well, oh, there we go. Wow. What ended up happening is that it was just kept there for a large amount of time, okay? Practically a couple of hours in the evening. And you could sense the dog wanting to go out, because the whimpering was because it was like holding its poo so badly. It knew it was in trouble, which is why it was in the room, but it didn't want to get into further trouble by pooing in the bed. So for at least, I don't know, man, I was laughing about it for 40 minutes straight. It was the best laugh I've had in years. I do not recall having had laughed so much in years. This is just me thinking about the dog who's like, I'm already in trouble. Dad, I'm already in trouble. I'm sorry. I want to poo. I don't want to poo on your bed. And you know, it's really tangible. The dog is already knowing it's in trouble. It doesn't want to get into even further trouble. So it's whimpering and really hassling. It's not just, oh, I want to go out to be a brat now, which is double irony. The dog was doing that for an amount of time. No, now it's like, no, I'm sorry. I want to poo. Ah! And it's like everybody who went by the bathroom, the dog was like, ah, let me go out. You. And you could feel it lost hope when the person was getting out of the bathroom and didn't come to open that door. He's like, no, I gotta hold it in. Why do I have to? He will never get the subtle nuance of that joke. He will never get that. And I have to accept that. Because there's also the other layer of absurdity is this guy was just so adamant about not listening when given tips. It's like, no, no, I'll take care of that. No, no, I can do that. And it's like, yo, no. You're, you're, no, please, Saint Michael or anyone, don't let this man learn this lesson by having his dog poop in his room. Please. Please do not let this man learn this lesson of being too resistant by having the dog poop in his room. And I couldn't stop laughing at that. I swear I haven't laughed. This is practically an hour, I believe. Practically an hour of laughing at that. And it's like, yo, this is the best laugh that I had in years. I can't recall. Maybe it was Saints Row. And it's like, wow, shit, that's been years. What's going on? What changed? A lot of watching of the news, hanging around passive aggressive people, judgmental people, people who don't laugh as much, adding a couple of judgment or internal judgment and traumas in that aspect. Ooh, interesting. You see that kind of analysis and breakdown, just being able to spot that. It takes an amount of practice and an amount of focus. But the thing is, it's just like getting good at a fighting game or in whatever your passionate ability, your passion is, whether it's art or painting or drawing. No, wait, that's all art. Booyah. Whether it's art, driving, chemistry, plants, witchcraft, whatever. You see, whatever real passions that you have, like deep, deep, deep passion, hyper focus, that thing, you can break it down, okay? It's the same concept, like a fighting game. You're testing out multiple matchups. What if I use this pencil on this paper? What if I use this pen on that same paper? Now, what if I use that pen on a different paper, on a more grainy paper? That pencil, more grainy paper, something a bit more. You see, you're testing out matchups. And with those different characters slash tools, you see our tools, you're sensing different movement combinations. Hey, if I jump kick, this person does their move, it's canceled out. If I do my teleport move and they do a grab, mine's canceled out. You get to figure out those matchups. It's the same thing with this. Now, here's the thing. With fighting games, you do it religiously practically, meaning you're repeating it every night. You lock in, you grind that shit, okay? So you're doing this every night, an activity that you repeat every night. How many hours with calculator is in the phone, and that would pause the stream. I don't want to. Look, how many hours do you play a night? 4 hours. Let's go. Let's try that. 4 hours a night. general number, times how many days a week. Do you do it every day a week? Do you do it 5 times a week? Let's say 10 times a week, 7 hour, 4 hour. No, 4 hours, 10 times a week. 10 times a week. That doesn't necessarily work. No, you're trying to do 10 times a month or something different. You see, calculations, I'd rather do it with calculator than just keep it in mind. Mostly because I want to keep the flow of the channeling. It's not an aspect of, oh, I gotta split my RAMs apart uselessly. If I can literally do it with a calculator, I'll fucking do it.
I gotta give you something else. Okay? Hold on.
That literally brought me back to the dog poop story. I cannot stop laughing at that. If it were to happen, whew. But you see, I'm flipping between two types of emotions, one after another. It's fun, playful. It gets to access non-duality with much more ease. And when you get into non-duality, is practically that savant mode. You know, it's you apply flow state to ideas, perception, and your perception of existence. I'm just looking it up on the tablet at this point. I'll fucking make the calculations. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. Okay? So 4 hours a night, 7 days a week, 28 hours times, let's say, 3 weeks. What's up, Enzo? Little rascal. Oh shit, he's gonna go on the cloak. Don't touch the cloak. Oh, and you're going for the cake. I will kick you. I cake you. Cake. Pound cake. He gets kicked, there's a cake that just comes out of him. Okay. You tried. I know. You could have, but you were well. He tried. He tried. If you eat the weed, that'd be fun. Don't.
Did you let him in?
Oh, no, that was Bob. But I imagine he had time to poop outside.
He was a big pain in the ass.
I'm sorry. Hey, wait.
What? Oh, yeah.
I'm just gotta have fun with that, okay? But the thing is, now that I'm stuck with the dog, he's chill. He's gonna find a way to chill out. Cloak, Kleenex. I just have to be able to balance it all. Okay. What were we? 28 per weeks, 3 times a week. 84 a month. How many months? Okay. No, I know. Forth, back. At least he didn't poop. I'm glad. That's not a mess to take care of. So, times 12 months, so it's 1,008 hours per year. So just add that with the amount of years that you gain, possibly in general. I know it took a while just to get that. Not really. Sort of. If I want to keep the information flowing, and what my brain adores is keeping a momentum of a specific idea or subject. So now with the gaming aspect, 1,008 hours. To become a master, it's 10,000 hours. Now, I said 4 hours for gaming because you have to do physical practice. You can do the mental practice, but that would be a tad bit, or I would find would be a tad bit more applicable with art. much faster with art too, because your exploration process can be repeated at faster than the speed of light in the mind. So here's the thing, with fighting games or any game, you are limited to the degree to what you can do and perform. Same goes with a first person shooter game. You will have matchup between characters, but you will find a limit to what you can discover and create as an experience or a new experience for yourself. You'll see all the other characters' moves, all how they match or mismatch each other, what beats what, what's invincible against what has priority against what has timing, and blah blah blah. There's a limit to it. With drawing or creating, there's no limit. You will continuously discover new things with new exploration process, new techniques, new combinations of all that. So the thing is, you will heighten your momentum of exploration of art infinitely faster than doing that process for fighting game or anything on the technical physicality, or just to say anything that you are not creating it manually and entirely. So with drawing or art, you're creating worlds, fiction as well. You're creating and micromanaging worlds. Okay, infinite to discover, to mix, to create, to refine. Okay, infinite. With a fighting game or any game, you are confined to a world. So your thinking spectrum is confined versus the other one. So if we were to bring the artistic aspect, that aspect of unlimited, no confinement, to a fighting game, for example, you would have to have infinite numbers of characters, or you would be adding Street Fighter 2, and then you're adding the next day King of Fighter on top of your Street Fighter roster, then you're adding the Tekken roster on top of that. Of all this, it's all you have 3 rosters now, one side to side. It's like a fighter's mega mix, but it just keeps going. It's like a Mugen, but you're just progressing from addition to addition, and it's all relevant. And you see all the matchmaking. You see, it's a lot. Well, it's infinity. Get used to it. But you can see how you can partially manage or partially step into it. You do it with your art or your chemistry or your plant work or your whatever you're passionate by. You do it with that. So if you apply it to your thinking as well and your perceiving, you can even apply it to your microdosing. Right now I'm in trance. Took a slight bit of MJ after quite a long break. And I mean a very slight aspect. It's practically nothing. Then straight up said, oh wow, shit. It's already kicking me even further into overdrive, and I'm able to be cautious of the process because I'm able to slow down that speed of perception. I am used to pushing my thoughts much faster in meditation because I practiced it like a fighting game. I'm going to match up with this subject or match up with that subject. There's the emotional aspect, but there's also the technical, thinking, practical aspect that can be, again, practiced like a fighting game. It's incredible. So this does also help quickly perceive the aspects of synchronicities and connecting the dots between that, because you do have to hold within your RAM what happened earlier this morning. Did you have that subject in mind even the previous day? What's the momentum of it leading to the crescendo? So context is very important, but there could be also multiple interconnections of context with other leading factors that are connected to other initial intentions. So you start perceiving the spider web of events in a more conscious way, and you enjoy the process. But you can also figure out how, at times, you can tweak it, and that becomes quite phenomenal. That's why, like, that joke, that whole situation that happened before was the most hilarious things I've ever felt, because I was very conscious about it. And also there's a previous context, and it's the fact that that dog has pissed on the on, the dog's a dick. The dog's a dick. The dog's a complete dick. The dog's a complete dick. It's untrained, and it's a rescue, so it's dealing with its own trauma. But it's a complete dick. Counter serves, begs to go out, does this whole little run around, gets locked up in there, and it's like, "Ah, let me out, let me out, I'm sorry, I wanna poo, I wanna poo." You heard its whimper for a whole hour. You heard its whimper for a whole fucking hour. And you felt the hope every time someone went to the bathroom. These guys never gave a fuck. They're like, I'm going in there with the piss. They couldn't even hear the whimpering. Or they had headphones, or they just didn't give a fuck. Ah, this dog was just whimpering, I wanna poo. It knew. It knew it didn't want to get into even more trouble because it was locked in because it was getting in trouble. So it didn't want to poo inside. That's why it was whimpering and clawing at the door, and people were like, "Yo," passing back and forth. And it's because the owner was just so stubborn. The guy did not want to learn. The guy did not want to take any tip on how to train his dog. He's like, "Yeah, I'll figure it out." Okay, sure. Oh, about the health? Yeah, I'll figure it out. Okay, sure. The dog would have pooped in his bed if he were held for much longer. You see, this is where when you cry wolf too long, it causes this weird situation, because the owner was right. This dog cried wolf multiple times. This dog's a punk. This dog's a bastard. This dog can go fuck himself. He pissed in the other roommate's bed. Little shithead. The guy had to fuck you. So, you see, all the synchronicities make it hilarious and absurd. You just, even if the dog is annoying, you just kind of have to laugh at the absurdity. And to the degree you can lay out what makes the joke funny, and you can literally keep up with it. And you're just more and more aware of the context. The pissing happened a couple of weeks ago. The counter surfing, when the dog was like eating shit from the counter and basically stealing people's meal, that happened practically every week. Everyone here got one of their meals taken by that dog. Little fucker. This dog waited for them to wake up in order to stalk them and just, ah, yeah, I want to go down. I want to go down. I want to go see him. And it's like you won't even let him fucking wake up. Like, I love this dog. I really do. You know, there's the love and hate aspect for it. Never lets me draw, little bastard. Eats the fucking food off the counter, punk ass. But when you come back and you just open the door, it's like he hasn't seen you for age. He might even jump and try to play with your hand, you know, gnaw at you. So he's cute. There's fun aspects to that dog, but he's a shithead. Another thing. That makes him like a mega shithead. Kicks his owner from the bed, or while in bed. Just wakes him up by kicking him. Well, fuck, man. Just to steal space from the bed, assert dominance. And then it's like, okay, I want to go out. Open the door. Wake up. Open the door. Wake up. Open the door. You know, just hammering at the door. But if he's not in the room and the owner's sleeping, he's just going to go at the door and just paw at it. Just go, hey, I want to come in. Hey, it's my bed. I want to come in. It's my bed. You know, like incessantly. When somebody goes to the bathroom and it didn't get in, it's gonna try that again. So this dog is a real attitude case. It's incredible. But you see how absurd its own, I guess, fuck's sake, maybe it's its own karma, right? Pissed so many people off, it was about to shit the bed and get even more punishment. Hey, he dodged a close one too, man. Every time you keep ignoring possibilities of ways you could handle situations, but the situation continues, it just grows. It's like, oh, it's not just an opinion. There are multiple possibilities to solve that situation. Yet you've chosen not to change that situation, which then lets it grow. The dog pissing people off, hey, nobody really got extremely fired up about it, but it got to a point where it was locked up. It's like, okay, enough of your shit. You're not gonna start doing this back and forth around. Problem is, it needed the shit. So, now here's the thing. That process, if I go back to the previous analogy, well, not analogy, it's a fact now. This was the biggest laugh I've ever had in 10 to couple of years when I started asking myself, okay, well, what changed? Lots more video game, lots more hang around in individuals with mindsets, negative mindsets, judging, condemning, you know, surface level that, while being there as well too. I was eating some of that. I was eating that content too. You know, your games, anime, movies, your fiction, it just keeps you at that surface level way of thinking because you're not going into nuance, so really knowing yourself. If you have any favorite thing or passions, activity, you dive into those nuances. Same with games. Why do you like fighting games? Oh, it's the competition, it's the this. It's not just one line. You're going to bring out multiple things, talking about even some of your favorite game. What's your history behind it? Like, there's a complexity between with all that. You're not basic. You just haven't applied that complexity or understanding of complexity to everything else in your life. Because you stop paying attention. You're distracted, or have gone distracted. I mean, as a society, if you compare it to when you were a toddler, time-wise, how much time do you spend on someone else's business? And that could be a Twitter page, a Facebook page, a YouTube video. Oh shit, a live. Whoops. As long as you do it with purpose. But you just kind of play with that. Still, how much time compared to paying attention to yourself and those nuances, right? So even talking about it, some people refrain from that, and I understand them. You kind of feel self-conscious, right? Oh, that's blocking you from achieving a savant mode in whatever you appreciate or you can break down? Really? Self consciousness. You didn't have that as a toddler. Where'd you learn that? You learned it from somewhere. Seriously, if you get back to the logic point, 0 point, birth, you're going to tell me a baby spoke English or French from the womb? I will look at you and kind of wonder, really? Show me a video and I'll see if it's AI. Ain't no voodoo babies. Yet. Still, look at it logically. There's no way you were born with these perceptions. You didn't have words to understand concepts, and then have relativity to them. I feel this way to that because it means this to me. Where did you get that meaning? How did you come to it? What's the other extreme? Once you start asking these questions, you expand your perception and nuances of yourself. You're the only one who can do that. Now, similar to become more and more agile and adept in your passion, that's the same thing you do with whatever subject you apply this method to. You're also processing the idea at a much faster pace in your mind because you're more familiar with the information. You have the context. The more context and more breakdowns of that subject that you go through, the more you are aware of yourself, why you have those nuances, and you're processing that information much faster because you're familiar with it. Your information synthesis is even further or even faster as well. So it's quite an intriguing, you could say, crazy ass fucking momentum that you can push your brain into overdrive, but you're applying it to multiple subjects. Imagine how fast you can enhance your life with that if you are doing it in a conscious and deliberate way. Oftentimes with our passion, we feel a good feeling doing them, but we never really ask why and going into a breakdown or nuance. Sometimes it's just a single line, like a fucking Facebook profile, and you say, oh, that's just me. No, 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 you're complex. Please. We often take ourselves for granted because we're never or rarely asked to have a logical and longer breakdown of our being. It would require us to understand our being even further, and we're not necessarily getting that example. Not on media. The dialogue has to be quick, snap, snap, back and forth. Yet, because of that, you're not getting a deeper understanding of what it is to experience life, yourself. You're doing it through a character, but you are not experiencing all 5 to 6 senses yourself. And there's much more complexity that could be expressed. There's much more complexity that cannot be expressed on television. You're having those thoughts continuously throughout the day. At times, maybe some people control it, and some don't necessarily pay attention to it. Yet, it's not expressed on television. It would be going on every moment, including when the character is talking to another. Some people have visualization and imageries at a much faster frequency, or they get it more throughout the day at various moments and at times random moments. But you're not shown that in your TV or movies because how can I show it for every character at the same time? Because all of those events, including the inner thought, is happening to all beings in the show. It can't be expressed. It would be a mess. Multiple voices passing at the same time. So, but this is an experience of reality. Everyone has their inner thoughts. So, as soon as you see a person, what if you start hearing their inner thoughts? It's, and how many people are around you? That's a lot. Start realizing this, that it is currently happening. Okay? But you don't have to do it. Meaning, it's not relevant for you to listen and hear everyone else's thought. Yet to understand that it is happening is important. To understand that everyone has different five senses. Some people can hear at a high. How do I say this? Individuals here can hear, their hearing is more refined because they're in the woods and much more remote. They pay attention to each and every sound. Now, in comparison to a Montrealer in the metropolitan city where cars are all over the place, and you actively have to practice tuning out, or else you're going to pay attention to too many details that are irrelevant. That includes also in big apartments. There's the neighbor up, the neighbor down, the neighbor left, the neighbor right, the neighbor in front, and the street cars, and the people talking on their cell phones. So there's so much noise happening, you have to learn to tune it out. You literally have to practice it. I remember the first time I got my apartment and I chose a place in front of a highway. It took a while, well, maybe a month or so, to just tune it out because I'd never lived around a highway. I was always in a corner of a neighborhood street, but not a highway. There's a difference. There's cars, there's trucks, there's a lot of medical vehicles, police vehicles. So you got to get used to hearing the alarm and tuning that out and not reacting to that. And that alarm happens much more often. It's a highway, it leads everywhere. So in a setting like Montreal, you practice tuning out. But in a setting like this, and if you stay there for a couple of years, you don't have that experience tuning things out. So you're still with your extremely high skills of hearing, but you haven't learned to balance it. So, of course, it's a challenge. Now, look at this. I told that for Montreal, but then somebody from New York would tell me, hey, New York, much louder. You'd hear people screaming at each other. In Montreal, midnight, certain neighborhoods, New York, hey, fuck you, something like that. I'm joking. This is going with movies, but people communicate much louder. Okay? And you would have people doing streams, yelling out at night. Yelling, literally yelling. You saw those videos. You saw how there's this kind of interaction. So the volume is much louder compared to a Montrealer. You see? Relativity, taking time to understand that and just asking yourself, okay, well, how do I train this? Or we're going into multiple subjects because how do you train it is a different subject. The idea of being able to pay attention to the subtlety of your experience seeing, and another person could have a higher sensation of hearing, and you could have a different sensation of hearing with different abilities. You have to understand everyone is unique, but you are never shown that in TV shows. You're kind of droned into a reality where there's barely little interaction with the five senses or six senses, and you're not properly shown physical reality in its whole. Again, everyone would have an inner dialogue as they're passing. You would be able to hear that or even see their vision. So when you get trained to ignore that, you're missing out a bit on life. Your processing of life is actually very cramped. It's slow, slower than your initial potential. Meaning, as a toddler or as toddlers, we were processing completely openly without filters, without contrasts, because we didn't have words. So when you get that and you kind of realize, because we've been given definition, well, we've been given words, but then we've been given definitions that would lead to contrast, this or that, instead of this and that. Become a bit more self-conscious because you're comparing to another individual, and if you don't compare properly, you don't get the good mark, the good job, we are brought into these dynamics. Hey, you have to feel this way because of that thing that was done in history when you weren't born. All this bullshit. Okay, I'm being very flippant. And that's purposefully just to wake that up in you. Realize there's a part of it that's has to be understood, but at the same time, there's a part of it that doesn't even need to be connected with you because you weren't born with that, and you notice how that changes every time, every decade. It's being able to hold both perspectives and understandings, integrating both. That's a massive key. But it's a challenge because you don't get to think at that state. The repetitions of your media and your fiction, it's limited. It has to. You can only express so much with the physical body and perception in the camera. I mean, you can't hear my thoughts. You can't really see the visualizations that I get as I make examples. You can't really get the context of those visualizations or what kind of creations are being made. Can you even hear the music I have in my headphones? Can you sense what it means to me? Can you sense what kind of energy it goes or flows through me? Why? You can't. You can't get that detail and information, and you can't get it real time. You never will. You can only follow your own at that speed to the degree that you know of it. And if you don't take time to do your own research about yourself and you stay at the surface level of television, well, you know, you stay at that slow speed of processing and you kind of really remain at a surface level understanding of yourself. You don't really. Okay, as an example, I met a person that's like, you either love someone or you don't. There's only one kind of love. And it's like, well, not really. I can love you as a roommate, but I don't love you as a lover. I can love you as a coworker, but I don't love you as a friend. I can love you as a friend, but I don't love you as a lover. There's different degrees. There's loving to a point where I would want to hang out with you more and more. Or there's loving as an acquaintance that I can say, hey, how's it going? But I don't necessarily want to stick around too long with you. There's love in an aspect of, okay, well, I don't want to be around you, but I don't wish you harm. I do wish you well. I'm sending you love. As another being. See, degrees, nuances. But if it's like, I'm all in or I'm all out, well, you're just going to hit a wall. Same goes with if you don't understand your preferences. What kind of cuddles do you like? What kind of movie nights do you like? What kind of air do you like? Environment. What kind of dynamic of voice do you like? Is it a voice that's going to get annoying over time? You just kind of want to know that first about yourself and about the other person. Okay, look, you're going to tell me you like chocolate cake. I'm going to give you any kind of random chocolate cake. it doesn't work. What accompaniment, how hot, how cold, what kind of texture, what kind of country preparation. You see, Dutch chocolate, French Canadian chocolate, North American chocolate, different tastes. So much nuance, so much details. But now you know which chocolate to go and where to buy it. You're still open for different kinds and new technique and new recipes, but you've narrowed down a favorite. It's the same thing for relationships, but about different aspects of yourself and the other person. If you pay attention to that, or else, well, hey, you're just going to keep hitting the same wall over and over and over, falling into relationships where you don't necessarily match. You kind of make it forced, but you kind of get grinded out of it. Makes you feel painful after a while because it's like, well, we're not matching, but we're still together. Kind of like a friend that kind of goes overboard all the times. I don't know. I'm pushing out examples, but there's a certain kind of individuals you don't necessarily want to hang out too much with because okay, now I'm still generalizing. Fuck. Okay, well, personal experience, I guess. Because I don't want to lay out generalization. At one point, you feel you don't match with an individual and you're kind of heading in different direction. One of the example that I have on a personal note is if an individual acts on towards another in an unbalanced way. So I'm like, okay, if you're gonna gaslight someone else or you're gonna assume shit about someone else, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna waste time because I don't want to pick up on those habits and those behaviors. But that's a personal nuance after having lived a certain context. You see, that's why I don't necessarily want to generalize it. But the fact that I know that about myself helps me match or find a match to that. If I didn't know, and then I kept going into a relationship, kind of sensing what I preferred, but just being shy from telling about that or even acknowledging it, I would just keep throwing darts, trying to figure it out in a sense, but blaming the other person instead of blaming or figuring out it's my own personal choice, what I prefer. So that would be like, hey, you went to buy FIFA 19 when I was always preferring fighting games, but I never told you that I prefer fighting games. And now I'm blaming you for buying FIFA 19 because it's not my preference, and I'm getting really, really angry about it. And it's like, but I never told you. And it's like, I can't assume that you would know, and I can't force that onto you. But I needed to understand that I like fighting game instead of FIFA. It takes a while. You can do the same analogy with movies. Oh shit, I'm gonna get super mad at you for getting, a wrestling movie while I like a horror movie. But I never told you that I like a horror movie. I never brought that up. Like, I'm gonna get really, really mad at you for that. But I didn't know I liked horror movie. You see the paradox in it? If you're not conscious and aware of what your relationships and dynamics tell about you, you keep focusing on the other and blaming the other. It's a loop. You're never going to get to know yourself. You're just going to keep repeating the same mistake, and you're going to blame people for bringing you FIFA or Call of Duty instead of you saying, I like fighting games. Let me go for that personally. Same goes with relationships and whatever. But we're distracted often in a way nowadays. Devices, gossip, other people's drama, Twitter feeds, Facebook feeds, right? How much time do you spend on that versus time you spend thinking about yourself or being with yourself, completely focused? right? It all came suddenly, but once you start acknowledging that and you start knowing, okay, well, I want to have better relationships, I want to have a better life, kind of sick of doing the same Mario 1 level and falling to the same Goomba, you sit down, you lock in, and you just take that time for yourself. Come on, man. You're falling to that same one Goomba? Really? Over and over? But, it's an analogy. You just kind of play with it. You realize all that distraction came suddenly. And those little habits as well of paying attention to whatever gossip, news, or whatever. But now you see the results. I don't want to say consequences. It's like, oh, consequences. No, you just get those results. Change them. If you don't like them, I mean, there's people that are going to complain, which on the technicality would mean I am not satisfied with this situation. It is making me upset, but then will not change. And subconscious be subconscious. Sometimes you just don't face those questions. It happens. I know. Subconscious programming is subconscious programming. Fuck the brainwashing we collectively got at times. Whether it was parenting, whether it was school, whether it was church, whether it was social media, it's a chain. Sometimes it stacks up. But fuck that shit. Hey, humble pie be humble pie, right? Sometimes you just gotta accept you had those experiences as a teenager and even prior because of the prior formatting, the prior environment, and the influences, and then the ramping of influences. You just kind of go, okay, wow. If somebody would have brought that basic way, that in a very basic way to me, I would have done the work like much earlier on. Fuck that family shit. Oh yeah, this is a stupidly well baked cake by Moon. Fucking good. I was gonna say phenomenal, but I know she'll get to an even further level than phenomenal. But this is terrific. Gotta think. But again, applying that genius mode, pulling it off with baking, sensing the nuances of how to play with that paste and various other factors of baking, understanding the differences in taste that every granular change does. Similar with our art. So you can apply that to your thoughts and also then your understanding of yourself. And thus, you figure things out in your life. What do you prefer? What do you like? You go into these breakdowns because you don't want to get the FIFA game. You're like, okay, I'm gonna stop complaining. Fuck that shit. I'm the only one who knows that. So let me figure it out. Just like how to bake this. The manual aspect with the tools and everything. You're gonna get a general recipe, but your own custom experiencing of baking via repetition is a whole different deal than a general recipe. That's what you deal with the brain speed. Now, admittingly, as you begin to process more and more information, your brain does require more oxygen. It does require more energy. So, breathe, eat, and be well paced. Oh, I think the dog is stepping out. Yep, there we go. It sensed the cake. What a punk. It's looking. I think to make it reduce weight, they've starved it for the day. That's why it's on the hunt. Now it's just kind of sniffing, going, oh wait, I see, I hear, I think I smell something. And it's just going from side to side, trying to look at angles, trying to see, what's going on. It's looking up at a plate. Just trying to get a better angle just to see what's that. Wow. I think it got fed. Yeah, the other dude fed him a bit. This dog sometimes. You have to laugh at the absurdity at times of how events just happen. I can't get mad at this dog. Like, there's a part of me that's like, oh, you're already up to those old tricks. And then there's a part of me that's like, whatever. You're a dog. I can eat it in front of him and just kind of go, yeah, whatever. But it's going to try its different tricks. What's interesting is that dog has been responding to channeling and visualization. I find that very impressive. Oh, there he goes. It heard the owner just go out and get food for himself. Most hilarious dog I've seen. Okay, derail. So you eventually have to know yourself quite well in the later run, or to evade certain mismatching situations, let's say with relationships or even with jobs or careers or whatever. You kind of have to know yourself. Or else you're constantly going to blame the partner, you're going to blame the company, you're going to blame the other person, you're going to blame the city, you're going to blame, blame. But you don't really logically get that you're the only one that could have said, I want fighting games. Like, you see, you get more and more specific with your own life preferences. You can't impose that to other people. You can acknowledge it, and you can't blame the other person for you not knowing it while you don't even know it yourself. And the dog was just drinking toilet water. Not sure if it was pissing, but pattern recognition. You hear the sound? Usually once you're done pissing, you just close it, knowing that the dog is going to have those habits. But sometimes you're the only one recognizing patterns, like a video gamer. Some of the aspects of enhancing that brain speed. Because you're noticing patterns on multiple layers, like you're playing multiple levels of Counter-Strike or a first-person shooter game, multiple maps at the same time. And you understand each pattern, each angle, how to react to that. It's the same thing with your thoughts. You're processing much faster, and you have a handle on all of it because you've practiced it every night. But if you're distracted, well, they'll tell me, why does it matter to know about, well, okay, I'm not going to go too extreme, but it's just reacting that if your brain's distracted, you're not processing as fast as you can. You're not processing to your optimal capability just for some random bullshit information. And also that speed keeps increasing, by the way. There's no limits. That's the key. Your perception speed increases, no limits. You're able to perceive more patterns around you, more dynamics, and you're then able to enhance those patterns and dynamics, or improve them, quote unquote, ease them up, enhance them. But you're not forcing those enhancements onto. You're just able to notice how they work and why. All of that at the same time. It's like having multiple command lines going at the same time. Or multiple, again, you've done it with different aspects. You've done it with fighting games. I can have multiple ideas of what's going to happen next and how to counter it. But in the moment, all these possibilities collapse into one. The moment is a second, a frame. This person pressed this on one frame. I can react in how many frames? So my reaction, my counter works. If not, I don't have enough frames to counter. You see how it works? I'm using the analogy of fighting games because you can see the technicality in there. It's the same thing with here. Okay, close it. Go to the bathroom, close the lid. But oftentimes individuals just don't do it here. And the dog picked up the habit of just licking toilet water. Now, whether it's properly flushed or not, hope you poop well, hope you piss well, hope you flush well. But it can be perceived as absurdity now, as long as you remember not to get kisses from the dog. Don't let it lick your face. Don't even let it lick you anyway. Because its water bowl was not changed. There's no schedule for an individual to select that, to do that. There's no room or collaborative schedule, which is a format that people use in the city or is often suggested online. You don't impose that on people. You suggest it. Oh no, I'll take care of it. No, I'll do it. Never done. The dog poops well. You see, but you don't expect everyone to be able to perceive all those patterns. You don't demand it. You don't expect it. You know, the aspect of pattern perception is something that's been enhanced with video games over time. Now to apply it to physical perception, just like to apply to art, to transition it is an art. You're much more adept at your nuance of perception. You're able to translate, okay, I go into deep levels of nuance and I get a high result, a high product, a high state of performance. Well, then I can do that for anything else. I just got to get invested in nuances, repeating the matchups. The more matchups you repeat, the more hours you repeat, hours of practice, the more matchups of your fighting game character you repeat, the more you're aware how the dynamics work, and the more you can shape and mold it in your favor because you know how to react and at what point. So, I went on a fucking mega tangent. It's like, because I was kind of realizing that, yeah, I can apply that skill onto this, noticing these issues, these repetitions, these loops, but I might as well look within instead of attempting to enhance the exterior all the time when the suggestions are rejected and the patterns are just going to be repeating. But the best thing is, accept the absurdity and laugh about it. There's no frustration about it. It's just, okay, the dog's drinking out of the piss water. Or not. I don't know. But there's multiple little patterns like that on repetition, like the dust, the aspect of the counter surfing. Nobody really trained that dog. There's certain loops of practices and behaviors that doesn't allow the physical body to wake up at full energy in the morning, causing a perpetual tiredness. So, look, it's kind of like me saying, sleep on the bed without having heavy metal music playing really loud next to you. You see, if you try to sleep while having that happen, it's making it harder. It's that kind of comparison where it's like, okay, yeah, look, just take away that factor and you're going to sleep better, or take away those factors. That kind of pattern recognition off personal aspects too. How many beds have I slept in? What's the difference? How many positions? How many situations? Being in the city with the cars, that's a situation. Either getting used to it or either getting headphones. Those are multiple patterns perceived so that you can optimize your sleep by saying, with this pattern, I sleep better. With that other pattern, with the sound, the sirens, and all of that, I don't sleep well. You, or it's kind of like saying, I lived in different apartments, different configurations of sights, sounds, type of environment. What configuration of those details got me the best sleep? Was it when I was in front of the fucking highway versus when I was in I won't necessarily say suburb, but a little bit remote? There's not really some high-end main street. There's another one where there is a main street, but it's not a highway, but there is a fire department nearby, or in a neighborhood that is not necessarily near a main street, but has a lot of activity around. You see, there are different degrees and different factors that you experience that affect your sleep. The beds.
No, no.
What kind of different beds? All of that changes your sleep. And there's also the fact, like I said, don't put heavy metal music while you're sleeping. It's not going to help. Or let's say, don't wear a helmet while you're sleeping. That's not going to help. Just going to those extreme and understanding those different factors, so this is some of those cases where it's like, to me, it's like, don't wear a helmet, don't wear medieval armor, just that. But it's just in relativity to having had all those other experiences. I can't assume this person has had any of that. Yet I can also laugh at the absurdity of not wanting to grow a toolbox similar to their passion in an aspect of living by accepting suggestions, just like it's a buffet of possibility, not one or the other. It is always one and the other at the same time. It's one complete. If it wasn't for one situation and then saying, well, I would want something better out of, there would not be the other next to it. One is created by the other. It's all relativity. So it's just fun in a sense, but it also brings a lot of observing one's value in regards to that. Problem solving, pattern recognition, and all that is often taken for granted. And, well, look at what kind of presidents are running around nowadays, especially in the US. Some people didn't necessarily see the pattern recognition. What's been repeated over and over again, right? Anyway, it's an aspect of attention and awareness. If you're not given the time to pay attention and you're constantly, your attention is taken. Hey, here's a notification. Hey, here's something else. Hey, here's this. You don't keep a momentum with yourself. You're not necessarily able to sense these things and kind of see those patterns and go, wait a second, to elevate, shouldn't we go this way? All right. Well, also the pattern of complaining that something's not necessarily going well in life, but not necessarily starting asking questions, observing alternate paths. It's the absurdity of just complaining and repeating the same thing. Instead of observing, I've been repeating the same thing over a few weeks. What do I have access so I can change that? What are the different values that I can change to get a different results so that I feel better, so that I stop complaining? You can sit down with it and ask yourself those questions, or you can pay somebody $12 or $50 or $250 an hour to ask those questions to you. But ultimately, the more you ask those questions yourself, the more you know yourself, and the more, well, things go smoothly. You don't demand it from everyone else because you understand that's not logical. And so you stop complaining, in a sense. There's still some cleanups here and there, but in general, you don't impose it on people, you don't assume it from people. So all that gossip, waste of time. You're like, okay, wow, yeah, what am I doing? I don't know context. I don't know the person's context, so what are we doing here? I can't assume that shit. And the other person can kind of go, well, they can assume shit from you. They're not living your context. We're not living each other's lives. But our language brings us at a surface level of that. People go into assumptions and gaslighting. It's kind of funny. No, it's not. It's the indoctrination. It's been repressing us collectively. We didn't choose that shit. Not consciously. Anyway. Take the time, look within yourself, do the work, know your context and nuance, have fun with it. Don't make it, or don't force yourself. But the deeper you go, human dynamics become more and more understandable at a complex level, and you don't assume shit about anyone else. Thus, you don't necessarily gaslight them with some surface level assumptions of who they are, what they do based on race, or some stupid TV show aspect of, I assume malice from that person just because I don't know them. How would you like someone else to assume malice out of you just because they don't know you? You gotta face that mirror. And you ask yourself, why? Because you weren't born with that as a toddler. Again, it takes time to think, but if you're not going to take time to think, you're just going to listen to this and then go back to chop chop suey, your next TV show, your next video game, your next piece of fiction, and get back into that surface level understanding of yourself. You like chocolate cake. You like video games. Cool. I'll buy you a Pictionary game. You said you'd like video games. Why are you mad at me for not telling me what kind of video game you like? I bought you FIFA. It's a video game. Oh, what? You like what? What do you like? You like fighting games? Okay, cool. I bought you Balls on Genesis. Well, you said you like fighting games. It's fighting games with balls. You see, you gotta become specific. You're the only one who knows what and why. Just like anime fans. Why do they like cosplay like that, right? Why that style? Why? There's nuances. If you're gonna get mad at people for not fitting your nuances and your preferences, then you're just kind of insane. You assume they can get into your head. You overgeneralize yourself. Okay, I was a bit radical with that example. You're not insane. You've just normalized this aspect of assumptions. But a lot of people run like that, run their relationships like that too. They don't take the time to express themselves and lay those things down, but they also expect and demand that the other person knows what they don't fucking know. It's like, yo, what the fuck, man? And even if they know, they can't demand the other person to fucking know. They didn't live their lives. There's an importance to context, man. But hey, surface level be surface level, right? That's the repetition of fucking media. It normalizes that shit at times. And it's not done in a malice way. It's just an unfortunate side effects of the advancement of our technology. You see, don't assume malice. It just happened. It's a side effect. Because we have more and more of that technology and more exposure to something, it's kind of like saying, hey, there was less people getting shocked or getting electric shock now that we have electricity in society. You know, in the past, electric shock, maybe if you had friction on a rug, or lightning would strike you, or you would make an accidental discovery, but it wasn't as common as now. Okay, there's an effect, a gradual effect of technology and inventions affecting the species in the number of people that can get shocked. Now, the number of people that can stay at surface level has increased because of the increase of our exposure to that surface level. It just happens with technology. All right. Yes, we also have the aspect of now we're reaching more of an aspect of understanding the deeper aspects of ourselves, if we're not distracted or drunk or stoned or under some kind of substance, because those are other factors that came into this species that slowed us down over the year because of the readily access, just like with the increase of those devices in our lives. You see? So there are different factors leading to different results. The surface level interpretation of people, and you see what happens online too. Well, that's because, this is how you get a president like that. It's this or that. It's not this and that, and the different nuances within the person. And that's how you get a fight with your lover. Hey, you should have done this. I assume that you should have done that. How the fuck are they supposed to read your mind, moron? It happens. It's not moron. Sorry, I'm being very, you see, back and forth, just to shock you and kind of go, well, programming be programming. This sucks. Fuck, man. We all got, like, we used to be clear toddlers. We didn't know any of this. We were honest. We were pure. And then this shit fucked with us. You're your race. You're your country. You're this. You know? Like surface level, man. And then your Facebook profile. We just got used to it. One line, two lines, three lines. You're not going into a complex breakdown of what you like, what you prefer, who you are, what are the nuances of it, what led you to this point, what this affected in your life, why. But you do it for your video games and your animes. So there's a flip side, but you're not doing it for your own life and your own thought. See, you're so distracted. It can happen. We have so much of that technology accessible. It keeps the population at a certain state of thinking. I feel uncomfortable when you talk for too long. So used to that TikTok dialogue, right? The passive aggressive dialogue from Marvel, right? You know, back and forth. You can't have long breakdowns. You feel threatened, attacked. So, the repetition of those scenarios, remember, you are living through those scenarios or through those characters. So you're living those scenarios through those characters. As you're following a movie, you're reacting whenever something happens. It's you experiencing the scene as the character that you're following. So you repeat patterns that way, which you've been repeating. It's just fucking funny. What do you repeat, right? What's normalized? What do your friends repeat because it's normalized, right? And what are you gonna do right back after you see this vid? Num 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 num. It's a balance point. Again, double-edged sword. But at some point, you want to take some time completely off it for at least a week. Well, try sporadically. See why it's harder to keep longer. Did your body develop an addiction? Ooh, that wasn't there when you were a toddler. What the fuck happened? You didn't have that before. You just want to see the absurdity of it. Don't get mad about it, but do if in and out. If you need to let it out, fucking do it. It's just absurd. But let it out. You're like, okay, fuck, goddamn piece of shit. And you just realize, okay, well, it's because we had those inventions much faster than understanding our own mind. And the exposure to that surface level with the fiction, there's more exposure readily available. TV, games, phone, it's more available because our technology made it more available. Because we increased our technological speed, or we increased the quality of our technology. You see what I mean? Let's say in 1970s or 1980s, you would have people, more and more people having these kind of discussions and less distraction because no cell phone. Okay, that also is a factor, or if you see it as a factor for practicing your brain speed and thus developing it. Understand that when, okay, 1990s, you start getting the pageant, one distraction in a sense, but not consistent. It's just from time to time. You have a personal computer, you don't necessarily have access to the internet yet, so you don't need to check it that often. You still work with that. Your attention is still potentially centered in that. So start evaluating when the attention started to be taken, as well as how much access to visual distraction that you did not create happen. Meaning, movies, they're like candies. You don't necessarily need to walk to the store to buy a cassette tape anymore. You can just press a button, stream it, not just on the television, because back then you would need a television to stream a movie on a cassette. Now you can just do it on your phone or on your computer. There's a difference in those two states. It's not readily available, so you don't have that distraction. So, incredible. When you realize, as a society, we have more and more of those inventions available, so distraction is more readily available. What do you think? Fuck. It's not just the distraction, it's the aspect of the speech, that surface level speech becoming more and more normalized. Surface level perception of yourself being more and more normalized. What the f? The dog was let up from the basement, went up, couldn't get inside a room, and then went right back outside. Pattern recognition. Somebody did not close the door outside, now I'm feeling the wind. Possibly. Maybe. Who knows? Could be. Could be both possibilities. If the dog comes right back in through the back door, but I feel a bit of wind. It went back outside, trying to come back inside to the basement. This dog's a fuck. And people have been repeating those patterns for a while. If it was a company, man, a gaming company. Anyway, okay. That broke the pattern a bit. It's kind of fun. You gotta laugh at the absurdity. Alright, what time is it? 2. I'm out. So do your best. Do your best and don't take it so hardly, alright? Let's go play team up. Here's hoping they learn from those patterns. Can't keep carrying. It's a joke. It's fun. It's playful. It's a great experience too. Lots of growth. Nuts. Let's go.